badge of honor that you hold on to for a long time as an entrepreneur.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. We are in for a treat with this lady right here. She is not only a successful entrepreneur, she's also a successful makeup artist and a photographer. She has products that are beloved by the public and celebrities alike and are on the shelves at Sephora, which is a big deal. So thank you, Danessa, for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm a little nervous, but this is amazing.
There's no need to be nervous. You're around your people here.
Yes.
So before all of this success, you were a regular employee working a regular job. What made you decide to try to do makeup?
That's what so many people ask me, especially when I started. There was definitely an intervention, like, what do you think you're doing? I ask myself that question often, and I always come back to the same answer: freedom. I just remember I was working at a publishing company, and I was kind of doing the things that I was told to do, or what most of us are told to do by our parents. Like, there's a certain kind of job you need to have, with a certain benefit structure, with a certain 401k at the end. But I wasn't doing anything I was passionate about. And at the time, I was a single mother of two. And I was working at a publishing company where they would have photo shoots, and people would come in, the makeup artists and the photographers, and they just had a completely different energy about them. Like, there was purpose in them being there. They wanted to be there. They were excited about their work. And the way they made people feel was exciting to me as well. So when the opportunity came, and the opportunity was displacement of work, everybody got fired. The company closed, and it was like, okay, well, here's my opportunity, I guess. I just decided that I wanted to do something that made me feel good and made me feel inspired, made me excited about waking up every day, and I really wanted to do something that gave me the freedom of choice. Like, I literally was waking up to do this thing because I wanted to. And not only did it give me freedom, it gave me control. Because it's super scary to know at any point somebody can pull the rug out from underneath you and say, actually, this is not your job, or this is not where you belong. And you have to start all over again. And I wasn't a spring chicken. I was 30 when that happened. And it's very scary, especially for a single mom. But it was just an opportunity for me to recreate myself, to not be the nerd that I was, and do something that really gave me butterflies. And so I just taught myself how to do makeup, and that's where it all began.
I want to underscore that displacement as opportunity, because you said you were 30. You were a single mom with 2 kids. You had a job, and the company said, we're closing in 30 days. You're out of a job. Yeah. Most people would be worrying about where their next paycheck is coming from. Where did you get the courage to take a risk and go out into a new field where you'd be starting from scratch?
Well, I knew what that felt like. I was like, if this all fails, I can come back to this uncertainty, right? So for me, there was nothing but upside. And I think, it's very interesting to figure out later, like, what prepared you for entrepreneurship. And when I think back, because hindsight is always 20/20. I had 2 entrepreneurial parents who basically worked a million jobs, 24 hours a day. They did it. They did some amazing things. I had a father who never went to school, never had the opportunity to, and he ran his whole business. We bought a home, we raised children, 9 children at that. So I saw a possibility sooner than I even recognized. But I think all of us are inspired by the opportunity to create our own destinies, right? And I think the courage is something that happens later. I think what's most important is having the commitment, just deciding. And it's really interesting to see what happens once you decide. Once you decide and commit to you and this endeavor, things just unfold. People present themselves, opportunities present themselves. One of the biggest things that I've learned is that your commitment is the most important thing at all times, even throughout the journey, and everything will fall into place. And it's easy to say later, but hindsight has proven, so I can tell you, doors do open for you when you commit and stay committed.
So commit anyway, even if you're not feeling courageous.
Yes, yes.
You said that you were self-taught as a makeup artist, and you've been really candid about the fact that when you started out, you had no idea what you were doing.
No, I was clueless.
How did you figure it out?
I mean, I think it's how we figure out it. Like, if you can figure out how to be a mom, you can figure anything out, right? And really, it was, you know, I think you do what everyone does when you find something that you want to pursue. You look for the people who are already great doing it. And so that's what I did. There were the Sam Fines of the world who were great at doing it. And beyond that, I think not just looking at the skill set of what they're doing, it's like how they're doing it and how they're making people feel. Because that's what I found really makes the difference in this whole thing, is that people are not necessarily buying things or the thing that you're making or the thing that you're doing. They're really buying you and your values and your ideas, your, you know, how you look at the world. And so learning the mechanics of doing makeup was something anybody can do, right? You know, if you research enough. But I think what was most helpful for me is seeing the people who were doing it and how they were executing in that space, and just learning the behaviors, paying attention, you know, to the world around me.
And in that first year, you worked for free, almost for a year.
Yeah.
How many times did you want to give up in that first year?
Oh, every day you go home and cry, right? But it's just something that happens when you decide. Because even when things are really, really hard, the one thing that you don't want to give up is on you. Or, you know, thinking about my 2 kids, like, what would it mean for me to stop, right? And it's nice when there's a why that's greater than yourself, too. And I think, you know, that was my biggest motivation in the beginning. But what I have learned in all of these years as an entrepreneur, that never changes. It's just something else that's scaring you. It's something else that's in front of you every day, at every point. So there's other things that you have to kind of figure out along the way. And for me, one of the things that I figured out was the most important thing on my entrepreneurial journey is focusing on this and this, right? Because, you know, that's what keeps you in it, mindset. You know, it's not always even the people around you, because, you know, sometimes you'll find that the people around you are the ones that are saying, it's too hard, come on, you could, that good government job is so good. You know what I mean? You get a lot of that and less of the people who are willing to take a jump, right? So I think working on a mindset that keeps you in it is super important, and it's a daily practice, yeah.
You've said that everything changed for you as a makeup artist when you stopped imitating what other makeup artists did and instead did what you felt. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, one of the biggest lessons in my life. It's interesting because I mentioned Sam Fine was like, I mean, he still is the greatest, right? And I was like, if I could only do makeup like Sam Fine, then everything will change for me. And I spent all of my energy just trying to be like him. But the most that I can ever get was, wow, you do makeup kind of like Sam Fine. But there's no Danessa Myricks in that, right? And it took me a while to discover that and to understand that, like, you know, your success is really gonna come from your personal, individual, unique gift. And that's the magic, right? Because there's only one you. And so it took time for me. I was halfway through my career at that point, and when I finally decided, you know, what is it that makes me excited about makeup? What makes me feel good? What is it that I actually want to do? What's the thing that I want to see? And it was at that moment that everything changed for me, and it wasn't until that moment, actually.
I think that takes time for all of us.
Yeah.
So what advice can you give to women out there who might be struggling with how to be themselves in business?
You know, it's interesting. There's a lot of ways that I can answer that, but right before I came up on stage, there was a sister from Connecticut. I think she's here in the room somewhere. And she came and she talked to me about what it is about me and my journey that inspires her, right? And so one thing that I realized is that there are single moms out there who are wanting to do something more, do something different, and they need to see me, not Sam Fine or Joseph or Matt, whoever. They need to see me doing the thing that I'm doing. There are people that only I can impact in what I'm doing, and it really, I hold on to that, just understanding that for most of us, we have to be able to see it to believe it. And I know it was the same for me. You know, if I didn't see another person of color thriving in beauty, I may have not even taken that risk to decide, you know what, I want to be a makeup artist, I want to go on this journey. And so I really do hold on to that and know that I am here with a purpose to serve not just the community I'm serving, but there's someone that I'm servicing too by seeing me do what I'm doing. And I just hold on to that and just like, whatever crazy comes in all of this, it's helping somebody.
As you were working through your career in beauty, you've had a number of really good consulting work for big brands. You developed a lash line with Kiss. You were the director of product innovation for Benefit Cosmetics. As hindsight, as you said, those roles positioned you perfectly to launch your own products. But would you say that you benefited most from the knowledge you gained from those roles, the experience, or the connections?
Wow, that's a big question. I would have to say all of the above. I think none of those things I was prepared for, and I honestly didn't understand like what I was getting while I was there. There are many of those touch points where I was like, why am I here? I should be somewhere else, right? And it didn't all make sense until later on. But I think as entrepreneurs, you begin to realize that every part of your life's journey is part of your entrepreneurial journey. Just being a single mom and the work and the manipulation that takes helps in entrepreneurship, right? And so there are things that I learned on my path doing those things that I would never have learned otherwise. And even though those weren't all like in my mind at that time, super shining moments where I wanted to be, because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So working for someone else, it felt like I was doing the opposite thing. But when I think about all the things that I've learned in each one of those positions, like I couldn't be the entrepreneur I am today without it. Even the bad situations, even knowing how to lead a team. Being treated poorly as an employee helps you to know how you want to lead your team, helps you, you know what I mean? So all of it counts.
Yeah. As we talk about obstacles, one of the struggles that Black women entrepreneurs know too well is funding. Your brand was self-funded, not by choice, but out of necessity. How have you been able to build the brand despite that?
Yeah, so the one thing, you know, I will never take it back, and Black women know that we're always the bottom of the totem pole. We're the last person considered always. But what I love about that is that we're the most resilient. We can figure anything out, right? So I think I had a history of just figuring things out, and with that comes a lot of clarity. And with that comes a lot of perspective and also vision on how to move forward. And I think it was literally just one step at a time, just looking at what's in front of you right now and figuring that out until you get to the next stop and figuring that out. We were self-funded up until recently. The top of the year, we were funded, but we were funded by a group whose particular focus was brands founded by people of color. And if it were not for that focus of this fund, that funding would not exist for me, because I will tell you there are so many people who I spoke to who everything went great until the end, and it had nothing to do with us being profitable, because in spite of everything, we've been profitable from day one, and on paper, all of our numbers, everything looks fantastic. What they weren't buying or what they weren't committing to was just me, and me being the identity of me. It's like that's the risk that they weren't willing to take. But the fund that funded us, they know the capacity of people who look like me. So yeah, I think it's really, if you're for anybody who's on that journey looking for funding, I think the thing that will make the difference is just showing how you overcame, showing how you were able to be a strong decision maker, showing like your clarity and vision, because what people are buying in the end and committing to is you. And really being able to demonstrate your capacity just as a human and as a leader and as a visionary is going to make all the difference in that process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know that you are self-taught as an artist, but really you're self-taught in all the areas of your business. Looking back on launching and growing a brand, what do you know now that you wish you'd known then?
What I know now for sure is that doing everything should not be a badge of honor that you hold on to for a long time. As an entrepreneur, it's, yeah, so you
we're gonna let them clap
yeah.
for that, because they're feeling it.
Yeah, I used to carry that. I used to be like, you know, the reason why people respect me is because I figured it out on my own. I learned how to do it, and I built this thing. But there comes a point where that can only get you but so far. And what's important to know is that you have your own unique strengths, and there are other people who have theirs. And the more you can let go of the things that aren't like the pinnacle of like your expertise and allow other people to do those things, the faster you will grow, the more resilient and robust your brand will be. I read a book recently, it's called Who Not How by Benjamin Hardy. And literally, I had to read it like 3 times in a row because I had to like get it in my Virgo brain that like it's not about you, it's about, you know, the people that you can empower around you. And I even had my whole team read it because I'm like, it's not even about you, head of sales, or you, head of marketing, or you, creative director. It's about your team and, you know, finding the right who's there. I no longer, well, I try very hard to not like control everything and do all of the things. I think what's important for me as a CEO and a founder is to have the vision and just be the guiding light and continue to collect people who want the same things that I do, who want to build along with me, and to really utilize their strengths and their expertise.
When you were talking about the funders, you said the thing that they weren't sold on was you. And I know that despite the fact that you have often been public facing, you train other makeup artists, you present at trade shows, and sold training DVDs and taught master classes. When it came to social media, you initially did not want to be the face of your own brand. And I've heard this a couple of times from other Black women entrepreneurs who are worried that them being the face of their brand is going to be a problem for their brand.
Yeah.
So I would like to know what your hesitancy was and how you worked through that.
Well, I think it was a lot of things, and I can completely relate to anybody who's felt that way because, you know, well, one, I'm a very introverted person. Most people don't get that from how I face, but I am. But secondly, I spent a lifetime of being told I was ugly. No one wants to see you. Can you change your hairstyle? You're too intimidating. You don't know enough. You're not smart enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not this enough. You know, so all of that is in there too. So when I'm seeing myself wanting to build something robust and special that lasts a lifetime, and I'm like, well, I could be the problem. So I don't want them to see me because I don't want, you know, their ideas about my beauty or my skin tone or whatever else to take away from the thing that I'm trying to create and share with the world. And that was the biggest mistake for me, and I've learned that. What has gotten my brand to become a 8-figure brand today is the fact that people know who I am. And they had an opportunity to see me and to feel me and to share space with me and hear my story and understand, you know, where I came from and everything else in between. That's the real magic of the brand first, before anything else. So if anybody is feeling that way, I felt that way too for a really long time. And I would say, let it go. Let it go. You are your magic. That's the missing link. Yeah.
We're going to take questions for Danessa. So if anyone has questions, please line up at the microphone stand in the middle. And in the meantime, I will ask you, Danessa, this last question. This is a conversation about perseverance. You are far from an overnight success. You pride yourself on the fact that you have built this brick by brick over many years and despite many obstacles. If you had to name one thing that got you through the ups and downs of business, what would it be?
Wow. God aside. God first, then. I think the thing that got me through it all, honestly, is knowing what it would mean for me to be successful, for my children, for, people like me, to see me make it to the proverbial finish line. Like, it's really what it would mean for other people. And it's like, if not me, then who, right? And I think that's what got me through.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've got our first question.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Naija Rudolph. I have been a wardrobe stylist for 8 years in New York now. And my question is, so I'm usually one of the only people of color on set, only Black woman. How have you been able to deal with imposter syndrome if you have dealt with it before? Because I look a little young, and I'm the lead stylist on set, but I've been mistaken as the intern or the assistant, and I wear my hair natural. I've had a woman pet my hair before, yeah, exactly. But so now that I'm coming into my entrepreneurial role, I want to feel more confident and just not feel like I'm not supposed to be here because I don't see anyone else that looks like me.
Yeah, I know exactly how you feel, because I get pet all the time or asked to go get coffee all the time, sometimes even when I'm the person there to speak. But I get it. I feel imposter syndrome all the time, and it's just a constant reminder, you're feeling like you're not supposed to be in the room, but you're there. So you're there for a reason, and I think it's really more about you believing and not everyone else in the room. It's more about how you're feeling. And this is it's a conversation that I have with my best friend all the time. I think as entrepreneurs especially, we're always looking at what's missing, what's wrong, what's broken. That's just how we look at things and what more could be there. And we really don't take enough time to look at what we've accomplished. And so when I'm feeling like that, I always take a breath and remember day one. I remember scooping glitter in pods in my basement. I remember all those things. I remember that first job that I did. I just look back at all the little things, even little things like I remember when I would cry leaving my kids because I had to do work, all those things, and I'm like, but I'm here right now, right? So there is no imposter. The imposter is the person that's standing there in here telling you that you're not worthy of being here. So get rid of that person, right? And just remember what got you there. I mean, the other people, they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out soon enough. Yeah, don't worry about them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Danessa again.
Hi, how are you?
Good. My name is Meredith McCormack. I'm the publisher of World Bride magazine. I want to ask you this question because I've been in the fashion world for over 30 years. In fact, Black Enterprise is one of the inspiration for me that took the leap of faith to go on and produce a magazine. When did you stop measuring yourself up against other people to determine that their version of success is not your version of success?
I love that question. And the honest answer is I get caught up in that often because it's hard not to, right? So much of how we start is how we're inspired by other people. And people who inspire you, they're obviously someplace you want to be. So you're always looking to that. So it's hard not to have that. And we live in a world right now where everyone is judged every second of every day by numbers, by how many numbers of followers, how many likes you have, how many readers, how many clients, like who you did yesterday. It's like we're in a constant state of judgment all day long. So it's really hard not to compare yourself to the other person that has more. But one of the things that I always tell myself is that you cannot compare the start of your journey to the end of somebody else's or the middle of somebody else's. And I have to continue to remind myself of that, because there's somebody who's like, oh, I want to be successful like Danessa, or the overnight success of Danessa Myricks, where I hear all the time, but we're 20 years in, right? And so I needed to go through all of those 20 years to be where I am right now. Everyone's journey is different, right? And you may find, like, you know, what took me 20 years took somebody else 6 months because they made a TikTok and their brand went viral, but that doesn't make that person better than me. Our journeys are different. And I also think about all the people that I served in some way during that 20-year span. I also think about the stories I can tell based on my own journey, right? And how that can affect other people. So just run your own race. The person that you should always compare yourself to, though, is you. You today versus you yesterday, you 6 months ago, you a year ago, and judge yourself only on that. And if you make it a practice for yourself to just ask yourself, am I the person that I said I was gonna be 6 months ago, a year from now? And what can I do better? For me, you know, that will fade away. But it'll never go away, this idea of comparison, but it's you who have to always bring yourself back.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, good morning to you both. Excuse me, my name is Libre Jones. I am the founder of Beloved Upcycle. I make statement chairs and upcycle vintage furniture. I started looking at inspiration and didn't see anyone that looked like me. Surprise. That does what I want to do. I've been teaching myself, I'm taking classes, learning. So to see you here, to be in this environment, to have Black Enterprise host this kind of event is immeasurable, because in so many spaces we don't see ourselves.
I hate to rush you, sis, but we need the question.
Okay, sorry. So the question is, you had Sam Fine that you said that you look towards, but you do things your way. How for you do you know when it's the magic, when it's that thing? I know what I like and what I think looks good, but how do you know, like, this is a hit, basically?
But that's the point. You don't know if this is a hit, but you know that that's you.
Yeah.
The thing that I've learned as an entrepreneur is that if you see someone else made a piece of furniture and you're like, oh, that's it, that's a hit, and you did that thing and you changed everything about you so that you can do that thing, because that's not you and it's not your inspiration, it's not your ideas, it's gonna be really hard for you to repeat that again and to maintain that. The one thing that you can maintain 100% of the time is you, your thought process, your ideas, your energy, and maybe the first thing you make is not the thing, but if you still stay in your inspiration and your flow, you're gonna find the next thing will be created, and then the next thing, and then maybe the fifth thing is your thing. But what will never be your thing is that thing over there. Right. That's what I know for sure. So just be true to you. That's what's important. Your authentic expression of your art. That's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess I'm the last question.
You
How
are.
are you? Wonderful conversation. My name is Kamisha Superville, founder of a full-service event firm. We are all entrepreneurs, so my question is simple. How do you, and congrats on your success,
Thank you.
How have you, within 20 years, maintained successful relationships? How have that honored your growth as a business owner and obviously funding? Can you talk a little bit about how to maintain those key relationships?
I love that so much. Thank you for asking that question. And interestingly enough, another person that was in the room today, her name is Tiffany. She was my very first assistant in my life, and today she's still in my life today. I think the thing to remember is that life is a circle. And 100% of us are connected, whether we want to believe it or not. And how the impression that you make on every person at every step of your journey will come back 100% of the time, right? So I would say continue to be thoughtful at every level of the experience that people have with you, you know, at every part of your journey. I think that's sometimes the thing that we forget. And in the way the world is right now, people are searching for that person that's going to help them to take to the next level. Who is this person that's great in this space so they can help me, pull me forward or whatever? But I guarantee you it's never that person that you're looking at 100% of the time. And that's happened to me throughout these 23 years. It's always the person you least expect who walks up to you and tells you a story about how they interacted with you 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or how you interacted with somebody else that they know and how it came back full circle. So I would just say, pay attention to how you are affecting the people who are right in front of you every day. You're welcome.
Please join me in thanking Danessa for sharing her inspiring story and her unique magic.